Welcome to India and a beautiful, beautiful portrait, a very intricate portrait named Jahangir, preferring a Sufi sheikh to kings by the artist Bishter. And he was a really well-known portrait artist of this time period. So we're in the early 1600s, early 17th century. And Jahangir means the Caesar of the world. So that is definitely a power label right there. He's known as the fourth emperor of the Mughal dynasty. And what is interesting about this scene is kind of goes back to his father and the Sufi sheikh's father. So Jahangir's father had wanted a son desperately, and so he went and prayed at the shrine of the Sufi sheikh's father. And then lo and behold, Jahangir is born. So this image is showing him on the throne, and he's taking a book from the Sufi sheikh, whose father, was that in that shrine that Jahangir's father had prayed to so desperately for a son. So it's kind of this nice moment between the two. Um, First of all, the image itself was located in a book, so like a codex, and that book had text and paintings in it, and it is, showcasing, of course, Jahangir and different moments in his life. This particular one is definitely about power and religion, his religious beliefs. And we're going to be talking about the religious symbolism that you see in the image when we talk about content. And then I also am going to talk about European portrait influence and just European painting influence in India and in this image. And that's introduced in India by like Christian missionaries, merchants, them coming into the place and definitely showing them and exchanging cultural ideas and styles. The border of it, this beautiful floral border that you see, we think was added on later in the 1700s by clearly a different artist, since the original was done by Bixter in the 1620s, I believe. Okay, content. So the emperor is seated there on an hourglass throne. And the hourglass throne, I believe, more has a European style to it. There is the almost like Christian feeling gold disc, a huge one, around his head with the flames of gold around him, suggesting definitely religion and also power, clearly. But you can tell there's this sliver of white around most of the sun that you can see, and that would be the moon. And thinking it's a symbol of night and day and a connection between the two, and also that then Jahangir is the ruler over all time, and that great symbolism of power with that as well. There is hierarchy of scale of this image. You've got four men on the left of the hourglass, and you have Jahangir on the throne. And definitely size and placement is showing his power over the others. And so the four men, in order kind of top to bottom, the one who is getting a gift of the book is that Sufi sheikh. And what I love, and I'll show you a close up in the next slide, he's covering his hands. He's using fabric so as not to touch the emperor, to be disrespectful in that way. Just below the Sufi sheikh in green is an Ottoman sultan, so an Ottoman, like Turkish ruler. Just below him in more pink and white and green is King James of England. And then the artist himself is the lowest person there. He's in yellow with the red hat on, and he is holding a miniature portrait of himself. So those are who is in the image. But other leaders, the three, a religious man to show Jahangir's religious beliefs and strength, of faith, and then the two rulers, one from England, one from the Ottoman Empire, and of course Jahangir's power over them. there, this hourglass and the sand running there, it's of course about time. And there are these two putti figures, these little angels down at the bottom, and they're putting an inscription and gathering the sand. There's an inscription on that hourglass wishing that the emperor could live 1,000 years. And in a way, he can with this kind of imagery. You can live on through painting your power, your status, your accomplishments, the things that you did can live on, even though your physical self does not. So that's at the bottom of the image, and those little angelic figures, the hourglass, the flat kind of strangely presented because it's such a flat image there, the carpet, the background of the lower almost half of the painting, that's like a Venetian style carpet. Having the king there, the King James of England, the kind of Christian reference of the sun disk, and those make you, again, feel that European-based influence for sure. A little bit of a close-up just so you can see the detail. And, seeing the detail there's the sheik on the left hand. You can't see their faces, but you can see the exchange of the book, the jewelry. What I love is the sheer clothing on Jahangir, especially you can see it in his arms. And I'll show you a website in class that really gets a close-up on that, and you'll be just spectacularly amazed by the skill and the detail. And then on the right, I just wanted you to see a close-up of some of the people in it. You can see in the blue and the patterns of the Venetian style rug. You can see the portrait that Jahangir's artist is holding. And then you can see the detailing in King James and the detail in the lace collar, and just that intricacy as well is just so stunning. And notice that his hand is not on his sword, and you can't see his other hand. And I'm talking about King James. So it's, typically in an English portrait of a king, he'd have one hand on his hip and one hand on a sword. But that would be very threatening to Jahangir. So we didn't want him to be doing that. That would send the wrong message. So his hand is clearly away from his sword. So let's go ahead and talk about formal qualities and function here. Function, portrait, but also self-portrait because the artist is here as well. You have religion, and again, he's getting a religious text from a religious man. You've got, the sun disk behind him. I think even the inscription up above has to do with religion also, and Jahangir's religious devotion. So definitely religion, self-portrait, and portrait. That's function. Formal quality then, I would say proportion is one, because proportion of Jahangir is definitely overpowering the scale of the other leaders. I would do that. And I would do space too, because the space that is shared between the sheik and Jahangir, showing really almost like the dominance of religion and his religious faith over more governmental kind of power moves and displays. And that's with the figures who are more just the rulers of the Ottomans and the English below. So I feel like he's really making this connection to his faith through the way, he is spaced and unified more with the Sufi sheik. So that is Jahangir preferring a Sufi sheik to kings. A beautiful, beautiful portrait from India, and really one of my favorites, and just in the beauty and sophistication of it. It's lovely.